Hello and welcome to another AIC off-road video. You may have noticed that there's been a big lack of videos coming from this channel, specifically about my Jeep and off-roading and things like that. Actually at the end of last year, end of 2015, I had an engine swap done on this. And it wasn't anything crazy, it's just another 4.0 liter that supposedly was supposed to be a good engine that had been recently rebuilt. That unfortunately has not been the case, and it's actually been a bit of a problem. And since they did the work, the front drive shaft hits the new exhaust, which just put a hole in it. It now stalls constantly, which maybe I'll probably be able to demonstrate here in this video. The transmission shifts poorly since they did the work. And it seems like it might have an overheating issue. I haven't driven it enough to determine that. It really hasn't moved in the last 4 or 5 months. The last trip I went on was very scary because I thought I was going to be stranded out there, which is exactly why I replaced the engine. It cost a lot of money and I'm not very happy with that. But with it being here and sitting here, it's really bad for cars to just sit. There's going to be a lot of damage that happens to the car in that time where it's sitting, and so about every 3 to 4 weeks I come out and I do a few different things just to make sure everything still runs, everything is still functioning. One of the first things I do is I check my tire pressure. Now they are going to be a little bit low because it has been sitting and I haven't put air in the tires in a little while. But what I'm really checking for is just to make sure one hasn't sprung a leak. So it's a visual inspection as well as an actual pressure inspection. It's about 29 psi, and I normally have about 32, so it is a little low. I'll probably be putting some air in them in the next time I check it. The next thing I do is I do check the oil. It is leaking oil, and so I just want to make sure that I haven't leaked out too much. Now it is at the full mark, but I did top it off this last time. I checked it a few weeks ago. Check to make sure that there's still coolant in the bottle. I can see it here. Also just open it up if I can. It's all tight. Just take a look inside. And yep, nice full of coolant. I shouldn't say full of coolant, has a correct amount of fluid in there. Power steering, make sure nothing's bad here. Looks good. So what I'm actually going to be doing now is I'm going to be starting it. Now hopefully you can still hear me after I start it. Settle after I let off the gas. Now I'm actually going to go through each gear. First, neutral, drive. Third, second, first, back up this part. Now I'm going to check the transmission fluid. Dipstick says to check it on when it's in park, not in idle. Some things say it's in idle. I'm going off of what the dipstick says. Dipstick says to check it in park. Now at this point, what I like to do is I just let it run until it warms up, and make sure the engine gets hot, because I'm hoping to burn off some of that condensation in the oil, water in the oil that gets in there. I want to get the catalytic converter hot so that it burns out any impurities that get stuck in the catalytic converter. Those are some of the things that tend to get bad when it's sitting. I'm also using up old gas, so the gas doesn't sit in it. And so I'll be probably putting in gas the next 2 or 3, in the second or third time I come out from now, I'll be putting some fresh gas in there. And so that way, just hopefully in a minute here, I won't do this with the camera on because I want to make sure I pay attention to what I'm doing. And I'm actually going to reverse it a few feet and pull it forward a few feet. Just make sure the brakes aren't frozen, that the bearings get grease back through them, and that the U-joints get, kind of that grease work through them some more. And then again, in a few more times, I'll come through, I'll hit everything that I can with the grease gun. Just, make sure it all has nice fresh grease in it. It's sitting, the water can come in, moisture gets in there, and sits in there, causes things to rust, causes things to freeze up. That's the last thing I want to do. I don't have the money to fix the problems it has right now, and I won't have the money to fix all the other problems that come from it sitting. Now that it's starting to warm up a little bit, I'll see if it does the stall thing. Normally it does it right off the bat. Because it's on camera, it's a little camera side. Some more a little bit. Normally what would happen is when I let off the gas is when it would stall. So I could be going along, and especially at low speeds, like in a parking lot or when you're going off-road, when you have a little, just a light throttle and you let go, it'll stall, which is really not good. Especially if you're climbing up a hill or something, halfway up the hill, all of a sudden you stall because you let off the gas a little bit. Part of the problem I think I might have is when they replaced the engine, they used all the old sensors that were on this engine instead of all my new sensors. I went through and I tried to calibrate some of them, but I think like the throttle position sensor, that's not any good. So I got to replace that. I have to replace the O2 sensor. I have to replace the idle air controller because it's old. It's not the new stuff I had in there. And again, that costs money. There's not one thing that's like overly expensive, but just adding it all up. And I just, I'm really frustrated. I just haven't wanted to put the time or money into it. So that's it. The routine again. I'm gonna start it, let it run a little bit longer until it gets nice and hot. And when I say nice and hot, it gets up to running temperature. I'll let it run there for a few minutes. I'm gonna back it up, pull it forward again, just to make sure everything's nice and loose, and getting moved around like it should. Turn the steering back and forth a little bit. So hopefully when I do get the money put together, I'll be able to come in and fix it and be happy with my Jeep again. So you probably won't see any more updates as far as going off-road or repair videos for a little while until I can get those things together. Anyways, thank you for watching. Thank you for being a fan. Thank you for supporting me on this channel. I really do appreciate it. And if I have anything that does come up, I'll definitely make sure I post it here first. Thank you for watching.
Alright, so I don't know if you can hear me or not. Of course, as soon as I turn the camera off, I start it up, I pull it backwards, and as I go to pull it forward, it does stall on me like it likes to do. And then this is what happens after it stalls, is the engine just races like this. I don't know what it's doing, but it's just racing and racing and racing. I've cleaned the throttle body. I haven't really had a chance to look at it because, again, I don't have the money or the time to deal with it right now. But it's one of the things I'm going to have to address. It started happening after that engine swap, that when it stalls and you go to start it again, it just races. And it won't stop doing this unless I turn it calm, but as soon as it stalls again, it does this again. And so the last trip I went on, I was fighting this and it starts to overheat and it's not happy. So I'm not sure what's wrong. If anybody has any ideas of what's wrong, I'll see if I can get it to stall again. It usually doesn't stall too easily after it does this because it's just racing, the RPMs don't drop. So I'll go ahead and see if I can get it to stall. I don't think it will, but we'll see.
So as you can see, it wouldn't stall because the engine was just racing. Now, I'm going to let it sit for a minute, and if I were to go and start it up again, it will not be racing like that because I'm letting it sit for a minute. But that's one of the reasons why it's parked. I don't know what's causing that. I don't know what the problem is, but it's obviously not healthy. It's not happy. So I need to get that fixed before I start taking it off-road again, because it's not safe. When it's racing like that, you're really fighting the brakes the whole time, because it'll go along at almost 20 miles an hour with no foot on the gas because it's racing so high. So when you're off-road, going uphill, downhill, even on flat ground, you're riding your brakes the whole time. You end up cooking your brakes, which is not safe, and it's not good for the engine. It wants to overheat when it's racing like that. So anyways, hopefully I can get that resolved eventually. Thank you for watching.